What up, what up, what up? All right, so I think this might be episode 2. Depends on where it falls. Sometimes I remember these things, sometimes I do not. Everybody around me keeps me sane, so
sometimes
I'm going
we lose an episode due to editing issues, and then sometimes...
everything falls apart.
Yeah.
But we're still here. This is the End of a Species podcast, and I am here with Adam in the studio.
Hi, I'm Adam.
And then we have, well, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves from Skype.
What up, y'all? It's Brian.
All right.
What up, y'all? It's Imaginate.
Word. And so it's actually apt that they're in here because we wanted to chat about, well, really, rap music is... for 8, is a passion, and he has a long-running series on Freestyle Friday on YouTube. And
100%.
Brian and I talk about music all the time. And recently there was this track that leaked. I'm not going to play it because I value the freedom that I have from copyright vultures coming to peck my eyes out. But
Back.
the title of the track, I mean, it's a Joyner and Eminem track, and it basically has to do with what if I was gay. That's the theme of the song, and Brian and I haven't gotten to talk about it except for like in general terms. I think we may have differing views on the song, which is pretty cool. I sent the song to Adam. I know that you listened to it, right? We just heard it just before we started this episode. And I think your viewpoint's going to be very interesting because you're not normally into rap music, period, right? Like, do you listen to a little bit?
My listening is usually like radio stuff, but like even then, like I feel like an old man like talking right now because a lot of my like to work and from work stuff is either news or podcasts or like people talking about other stuff. Like music I have like when I'm like writing anything or doing paperwork or whatever is like very non-word. It's like there's like it's like either classical music or just instrumental or like maybe just a catchy beat or something.
You're
but
not
like
missing much.
It's like 2 hours of like the same kind
Not
of
nowadays.
Yeah, with the stuff that's out now, you're really not missing much. I guarantee it.
Well, like I'm a product of the 80s and 90s, so like if it's not from there, like I don't really know.
I know.
Much.
I know. Back in the day, me and you, Brian, we used to like recite Eminem lyrics back and forth in the drive-thru at McDonald's, and
Yeah, definitely.
that was like we could do a whole album from top to bottom without the album being on, and the track list would be perfect. So the reason I wanted to talk about this song is, number one, like for me, Eminem is a kind of a benchmark of where lyricism can be. I think he's the best best lyricist of his time, and as good as his lyrics are, that's probably like the cap of where the industry is. Recently, his lyrics have been very great technically, and he's had a lot of like deep meanings behind the words where you have to kind of listen to a verse 3 or 4 times to kind of dig between what he's saying. But there's a difference between that and say something on the Marshall Mathers LP where he may not have like a billion technical metaphors and rhythms, but the words are fitting and he's just kind of telling you a story and hitting you with punchlines, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So with this song, I thought this was kind of like and if you haven't heard the song, then this probably isn't for you. You're going to be very lost. But with
Spotify, YouTube, like it's out there. You can find it. Like
Yeah, definitely on YouTube.
You can find that kind of stuff anywhere you want to release.
It has definitely leaked 100%. And I know.
So this isn't on an album yet.
No, well, okay. So for background, Joyner Lucas has an album called ADHD that he's been releasing one track at a time since last year. There's been tracks with Logic. There's been tracks with. I mean, he's had a couple of tracks that have had guests on it. The Eminem track was like he mentioned that he had a track with Eminem right after Kamikaze came out. So this was something that was people knew was coming. And when the snippet leaked, it wasn't long before the rest of the song followed. I mean, it was maybe a couple of hours when I saw the snippet, and a couple hours later I saw the whole song. So
Yeah, I think I saw the snippet maybe the day before, or maybe 2 days before at the most.
So I just heard it today. I'm late.
So it has definitely leaked. I don't think it matters because for this Joyner project, it looks like he's not going to release. I mean, he might release the album when he's done, but it's like you hear a track, people talk about it, it's out on YouTube where you can hear it for free, and then you hear nothing for a couple months, and then another track comes out.
How many tracks has he done in this fashion so far? Like just as a thing,
Probably about 6 or 7.
Yeah. And I mean, like, not from any, like, not coming from like a marketing kind of point of view. What is the purpose of that kind of process? I mean, you get people talking about a track, but like, if you're not going to put out an album for like 3 years, but like you've released all the songs already, like at that point, like I would like, well, we already have it, like, and then who cares?
a lot of right now with rap is how can you get people to talk? How can you get people to talk about your stuff? How can you stay in
an ever-changing industry? How can you stay viable?
Yeah, how can you stay relevant? And with Joyner had from last year to this year, he had a very, I say very publicized, but if it's publicized if you're into rap, he had a very visible rap beef with Tory Lanez that culminated in a track with Tory Lanez where they did the track together. This track with Eminem is more like a concept song. So
he's like, as per just questioning, he's not gay, or do we know?
No, he, as far as I know, he's not. It doesn't. I don't think it matters. I don't think that's the ultimate point.
I'm not saying that's the ultimate point, but like, is he trying to convey is this a coming out of the closet kind of a track or not? Or
and I think that's a good chunk of the discussion, right? Like that's part of the discussion because Joyner on the first 2 verses has he's kind of playing a guy who has come out of the closet. And he's asking you, like, what if I'm living in this environment where it's hard to come out, and what if I was gay, right? And then Eminem has his verse where he's playing the role of the dude's friend that wasn't understanding about it, and in a Stan fashion, he's lamenting the fact that his friend killed himself because he didn't have anybody that he could kind of lean on with this information. And then the punchline is that Eminem's character is gay too, which is, to me, a bigger part of the conversation because Eminem has had a long history of what people perceive to be homophobic remarks. To people that have grown up in rap in the 80s and 90s, saying certain terms is not homophobic because it's just the way you speak. A lot of us grew up with, especially in the town I grew up in, it was not a conservative town by any means. Whether you were gay, straight, or anything, everything was, hey, we're all chilling, and you just use certain terms that's how you talk to each other. Like I have friends from high school their nickname includes what we would consider homophobic slurs now, and if I was to run into them now, I would use that as how I greet them, right?
Yep.
So to us, it's you use a term like and I'll just go out and say it, demonetized city. You use a term like faggot, and it's not to us I'm not talking about a homosexual at all. I'm just using the term. It doesn't really have a meaning. The same as like the N-word or any other. It's just a word that you say. I know that that's not the same to other people, but it's just it is what it is, right? So, but Eminem's history is littered with this. Like, he uses that phrase, and partially because of what he looks like, because he's a white dude, people don't expect it. Right?
He's white, and he has blue eyes too, I think, right?
Yeah.
He's a very Caucasian-looking individual.
Very much so. 100%.
Yeah, there's no mistake.
Yeah, there's no questioning that. It's not even like he's mixed or you're like, hey, is he? No. If you see any pictures of if you dig into his past and you look at pictures of his parents, he's a white guy. If Method Man, Redman, Biggie, any one of those people were to say that word and they are charting, nobody says, they're like, whatever.
Yeah, they're not going to care.
Like now, maybe. But
not back then.
But like in the late 90s, early 2000s, nobody gave a damn if Method Man came out with a song and dropped 1 million of those. It didn't matter.
Big drop, plenty of them.
Yeah, that was, and he was charted.
DMX too.
Yeah, so and nobody said boo, but because and so when people made a big deal about Eminem saying that word, then he just said it more because he's like, oh,
people are talking.
Yeah, it's almost like you get that reaction that you want. And you get the instant gratification of, oh, now I'm getting attention. So he would, if you listen to the song Criminal, he just goes overboard, like just giving you lyrics that are completely, homophobic. No, you're just heterophobic. Like straight, I'm going to just steer into the skid. I don't give a fuck. So...
when people start talking like that, you end up feeding a machine. Basically, you're like pumping stuff into it, and you're just getting like a recycled version. Not recycled. I mean, it makes it sound derogatory or whatever. But like, you put in this information, and then you get, oh, this action has produced a result, and it's a result that I want. And so then like you start amping it up because then you start getting more result, and then you start getting more attention, and then you're like, if you have like a message in your song that like people are more focused on the word than the message, like then that gets out there, and then it'll hit more people, and then you start spreading, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So
yeah, and so having said all of that, there is already talk on the internet from people that have heard this song that are like, well, who is Eminem to make this statement, right? Joyner had a song, what was it, last year or the year before, where I'm Not Racist came out. That song had people talking because it was a similar concept. You had a white guy talking to a black guy about about why he looks at black people the way he does, and then a black guy talking to the same white guy about why he looks at white people the way he does. And so this is similar almost. They
carry similar themes.
Yeah.
The subject material is different, but the theme is kind of...
But I think I'm curious, like for me, this song, when I heard the Eminem verse, it evoked a lot of those feelings that I had when I heard songs like Stan. So,
oh, definitely.
Like, I'm curious. I'm actually gonna. I'm gonna put you on the spot, Brian. I'm curious as to what you thought of the song and like where it landed for you.
Well, you got me a little bit hyped up when you told me about it with your reaction, and I didn't really have the same reaction. I see the connection that you do draw with Stan in the kind of like the third person storytelling aspect of it. But I don't know. I just didn't think that it was lyrically was really that great for him anyway. You know, for his standard. He still kind of had that the slow flow that he does now when he kind of, I guess you could say stretches words almost to make them rhyme.
Yeah.
You know, words that don't actually rhyme, which he does all the time. He's always done that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, I feel like his flow was always faster. You know, and
Definitely
this
recently.
one was and this one, it was much slower. And it was also, I really didn't feel like that the beat and everything was really that great either, which you don't even really hear during the actual lyric part of the song.
Yeah,
it's in the
They have that
background more. It's a subtle, beat for sure.
It's almost it's almost an acapella.
Yeah, and I think it probably would have even worked better as an acapella.
Maybe. Oh, that's interesting.
But like, you know what the difference is to me? Like, if you think about Eminem in 2018, and by proxy, anybody else that is on that caliber, like a Crooked Eye, Tech Nine, you hear their lyrics, or you hear one of their tracks, and you know as you're listening to the track, you know, damn it, I'm gonna have to listen to this shit like 5 more times just to know what everything in here means. And with this track, I feel like you hear it the first time, and you get, you get the experience of what the song is. And I think that's the difference between Eminem back then, where you can get kind of a full vibe of a song. You don't feel like you missed anything. Versus Eminem now, where, I'm still, anything past 2012, there are tracks where I still listen to them now, and something jumps out at me, and I'll have to either text Brian or 8 or so, and just be like, did you catch this? It's like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Did you hear this? Do you know what this line was?
That happens to me. The other day we talked about that, where I was listening to Copyright, who's another white rapper from Ohio, that I haven't heard anything from him in like ages. And this one album that slid completely under the radar, it was called Bloodbath and Beyond, which is a really cool title, by the way, for an album, I think. And I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this whole album is fire. And it came out like 2016. I'm like, where have I been? Like, how did I miss this?
Yeah, and like, I see the same thing with like Chino. Like, Chino XL has the Poison Pen album, which is very, like, it has some, it has a lot of wordplay, but it's not wordplay where you have to, I guess, with a lot of the newer tracks, you're running to genius.com. As soon as you start listening to the track, like, how many meanings does this line have, right? And with this track, so that's right off the bat for me. That's what I appreciated about it. Not that I don't like when you have multiple, like, I love lyrics that sound worked on, but I can appreciate songs on a different level when you just are telling me what you're telling me. You're just giving me the story, and I don't have to think like, well, you use this specific word, and this specific word has 3 homonyms, and then now this sentence has 7 meanings to it, and 5 years from now I'm gonna hear the song and be like, oh, slumped over, I get it. You know what I mean? Like,
just
hard.
You don't need
I see that point.
You don't need to Quentin Tarantino your song every single time.
Yeah, I see that point, that it's not over the top lyrics like he's been lately with some of his stuff, where, like you said, you have to sit there and decipher it to really catch everything.
Yeah, I think that's.
But I did.
Sorry, go ahead.
The flow. Yeah, the flow to me just wasn't that great, I guess, for him. It was, like I said before, it was kind of slow, very slowed down and drawn out. And I don't know.
I know
it was good. I'm not saying it wasn't good, but I just don't think it was incredible. Like how you said it was. You felt like it was beckoning back to the Eminem of the past. You know, Marshall Mathers LP type Eminem.
To me,
and I didn't.
The reason I said that was because, like, if you actually listen to Stan and you just break down the lyrics, half the lines when it's Stan writing, and this was something I always thought was clever about Stan. Like, when you look at the Stan verses, half the lines don't even rhyme. Like it's not even like he's bending.
He makes
words.
them rhyme.
Like but he makes them rhyme, but they almost don't. It's like they work, but you almost give it a pass because it's like, hey, Stan's not a rapper. He's just writing a letter, and it kind of works.
Yeah,
it's the way it sounds. While they don't technically rhyme, but when you say them, it sounds like they rhyme.
They blend. Yeah,
and he's a master of doing that.
Yeah, but
you know.
And then you see the words rhyme a lot better when you get to the last verse where Eminem is actually saying stuff back,
writing back. Yeah,
and everything is the words are starting to fit together like a puzzle again because now the rapper's talking.
Yeah.
With this, it gave me that feeling again. Like, oh, these words, I know they don't rhyme. He's saying them in kind of a way where they kind of rhyme, but it's really the rhythm, and he's just talking. He's just telling me what the thing is. He's not, and I think part of the criticism that comes from that people give Eminem, and I think it also shies them away from what we consider very lyrical rappers, is the fact that most people don't give a song a second shot to say, let me see what this means. Like, I'll listen to a Tech 9 track 100 times to find every single line I can. And just marvel at, like, how does he do that with words, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that. And so where some people are like, oh, he's trying too hard, we look at that like, what the fuck you mean he's trying so hard? Like, he's fucking... Did we hear the same
Brilliant.
Song?
Yeah.
He's
actually not trying that hard.
Like,
that's the crazy
he
part.
mailed in the verse and still hit you with like 100 fucking meanings to each line. But with this track, it's it's something deep, right? It's talking about a very relevant topic, which we'll probably touch on this topic at some point anyway.
To me, it reminds me of Airplanes. I don't know why, but like the first time I heard it, which was today, automatically I thought of Airplanes with B.O.B.
Are you talking about the Eminem remix or just Airplanes in general?
No, the Eminem, with the M verse on it.
Okay.
Like, I'm not 100% sure why, but that's what popped out at me when I heard it the first time. I was like, why does this remind me of Airplanes a little bit?
Like,
so good, man.
Like, I'll tell you, my favorite Eminem verse of all time, from a technical standpoint, is his verse on Caterpillar.
Yeah, we had this discussion the other day.
Caterpillar, to me, well, first off, the end of that verse has so many doo-doo metaphors that are just used in a clever way.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insanity. Like, it's just nuts. But from a technical standpoint, it's like from the minute that Eminem comes into that verse to the minute he leaves, you're just like, he doesn't give you a half a second to breathe and go, okay, here's a line. Where the range to this What If I Was Gay song is like, you can kind of just vibe. Like, if I'm playing this song in the car, I could kind of just vibe out and just be like, okay, I get it. I get what you're talking about. You know, this dude doesn't feel right coming out the closet, and this other dude, and you know what? You see it a lot. I not to get political, but you see a lot of the people who are very anti-gay. Very, very shortly you'll find out, like, oh, you've been gay this whole time. Like, people who aren't gay, people who aren't homophobic, or most people, like most straight people, don't think about what gay people do anyway. Like, it doesn't.
That's true.
Like, I don't talk about it with anybody. Like, oh, I wonder what two gay guys are doing or what two gay girls are doing. I don't talk about that with nobody. Like, that doesn't enter my mind. So it does beg the question, like, hey, so the people that do talk about it, including Eminem, right? Are you trying to tell us something? You've had a million failed relationships and blah blah blah. Like that's a relevant question. Same thing with Joyner. Hey, is there something y'all are trying to tell us? It's okay if you are, and it's a clever way to do it. But what do you guys think of that?
I was gonna say, I was literally thinking about the same thing, and I was just like, if Eminem is gay or not, who cares? Like in my mind, I'm like, I don't care. Like he could be gay all he wants. Whatever he's doing in the back, he's doing in the back. You know what I mean? But like, he's still a clever lyricist, a brilliant musician. You know what I mean? Like his lyrics are uncomparable, and like at the end of the day, you're not going to take any of that away from him just because if he is or he isn't. You know what I mean?
Definitely not. I think it would just be like crazy though to think.
Would it even be a surprise though? In my mind, I'm like listening to the whole Eminem, I'm saying. Like I wouldn't care. I wouldn't even be that surprised. I'd be like, okay.
It would be. I think it would be surprising, but not that it would matter. Like you said, it wouldn't change anything as a fan. But just thinking of like how many jokes he's had.
It'll definitely make you go back.
You would think back like, wow, holy shit.
Like he's been talking about this the whole time, and we weren't paying attention.
I remember this coming up in like I think the early 2000s about like when he had multiple tracks that involved talking about homosexuality. People,
that was a thing too, that
pointing the finger at him and saying like, "Well, are you gay, or is that why you're so upset about it, or why you keep talking about it?" Or whatever?
You know who would be the next person that people would look at?
Can I say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
DMX?
No.
I was gonna say DMX.
I'm talking about yo. And
I love DMX.
But DMX
pretty grimy, but he says a lot of.
The next person that I would think of,
a lot of stuff.
The next person I would think of, and you'd look at and be like, "Yo, cool, whatever." But and now, no disrespect, because it's one of my favorite producers, but Dre. You know, the whole time me and Dre been blah 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 blah, right? So,
well, hats off.
Is that like you start to think and you're like, yo, are you trying to tell us something? And if you are, what are you trying to tell us? And do you need anything? Like, is there something that me as a fan, like, I look at somebody like Eminem, and by extension, anybody from that camp, like Dre, 50, I'm not going to stop supporting anybody because they're gay. Like, I'm not gonna stop listening to their music. Their shit is the bomb. So like, it does make you think, especially when you think of actors, musicians, etc. that have committed suicide. That have, you think, hey, everything is wonderful. Like think of like, to go further and a little outside, but like Heath Ledger, about to win an Oscar. Got some OD stuff happening. It makes you think, and that's the other thing I love about this song is that when you pierce the surface without having multiple meanings to lines and a whole bunch of metaphors, you really do start. It does give you a conversation piece.
Well, also, like, as far as for the song that was going, like it seems like it was a conversation that was one-sided with Joyner, who's talking to Eminem, was like trying to confide the secret that he's kept for his entire life to him, and then Eminem retorts with, he doesn't accept him. He wants him to get, repaired or fixed, and talking about going to church, and he needs to repent for sins, and so on and so forth. And then the guy goes home that night and kills himself because he was looking for not just validation, but like somebody else to say that it's okay, like that it doesn't matter. And then his friend puts him down for it, and then he can't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, I really like. Okay, so for 2018, I thought the story of OJ was probably the most important rap song that had come out in ages, right?
Yeah, that was a good song for sure.
And I think this song is on that level where it's going to be that important. Where I could see myself talking about the story of OJ 10 years from now. Like, yeah, that's the problem with our culture. That's the problem with, people that come from that environment, that they think it's more important to sell drugs and claim an area that they don't own any property in, right? And not stack any kind of wealth for the future. And it's the same thing here, where it's like, almost to a degree, you make jokes and you say words and you say whatever, but what are people actually going through that are going through this kind of thing, right? Like, and what can you do to help them? And what are they going through? What is it that you can? How are you affecting the people around you?
It's definitely a powerful message, without a doubt. It's a powerful message that, especially coming from Eminem, with all the criticism, being homophobic and all that. But I was just really talking about it as an actual song from that standpoint. The sound of it. But the message is undeniably, it's a great message.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely an interesting concept, and I feel like a lot of people don't do a lot of conceptual type of like music. People just, like you were saying before, they just stick to a specific topic, and sometimes that's cool, but other times it's good to think outside the box. Because as an artist myself, like with my hip hop series, every month I challenge myself and I pick a topic that I have to stick to in order to develop my writing further, to think more creatively and try to think outside the box. And I think that's what they were trying to achieve with this song. So not necessarily that, they're both gay. I mean, they could be, they could not be. But I think overall it's just like a good concept. And I think like it really helps Joyner as an artist too, because he's a newer artist, develop himself and, be able to go further. And right now, at this point, he'll be thinking, be like, I could write about anything if I really want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, hats off to Joyner. I'm gonna keep it a buck. The last couple of tracks I heard from Joyner were they were missing something for me, and like the punchlines. Some of the punchlines are really good. The flow is impeccable. He stays in the pocket of the beat really well, I guess this is the next conversation that we can have, and it's not as deep, but like, what makes a good rap song, what makes a good verse, etc. And there are
that takes forever to discuss.
Yeah, but like, and I think that's the thing that that's the other thing I wanted to get into with this specific track is, like, if I hear a Joyner track, a lot of people are, it's the same with Kendrick. You got to listen to this guy. He is on point. And I think one of the things you said earlier, Brian, was that I hyped up this song for you. And in a way, I think I have to apologize for that, because I did. I don't know that I can oversell this song. Like, and that's just in my opinion. But I did. I was so hyped when I heard this song. Like, it gave me goosebumps. And so I can kind of see that as almost like a spoiler. Like, oh, you're gonna love it, and then you take it from you absorb it, and you're expecting it to be chloroseptic remix.
Yeah, expect this to be blown away.
Yeah, and you're getting like just a very mellow verse.
Yeah.
But when on the flip side, a lot of I'm gonna make a confession here. The Way I Am, I hate that song. Everybody loves it. I hate that song. Whenever it comes on, I have to skip it, and I feel bad because I'm such a big Eminem fan. But I despise that song.
I don't hate that song, like me personally, but it got played out so much. In the beginning, the first time I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. And then after the radio destroyed it, like completely, it's hard to listen to now. So I'm not even gonna lie. I usually skip it too, just because I've heard it a billion times over. I don't need to hear it a billion and one. You know what I mean?
I'm more like that honestly with Stan, to be honest.
That
Even though I love it, but I do, if I throw on Marshall Mathers LP, I kind of do skip it sometimes just because it's long and I've just heard it so many times.
Exactly.
But the way I am,
Stan is almost like a movie that has. It's almost like one of them M. Night Shyamalan movies where you know the ending already. So then when you watch it again, you're like, I already know how.
God, I don't want to discuss his movies either. That's another long topic.
I already know how this ends. So I get it with that, but like, any of the other deep track like Rock Bottom, I could listen to that track all day.
Me too. Actually,
if I had, same thing. A simple and a different artist, but a simple, kind of a simple track. Very like verse, no hook. I Got a Story to Tell by Biggie. Very, very basic
classic
rhyme scheme. I could listen to that track 1,000 times in a day, no problems. So, what? I guess there are songs that have like super technical lyrics that I can't stand. There are songs that are very simple lyrics that I love, and vice versa. What's the X factor for you guys for what you consider? Hey, this is,
Well, I was gonna ask before we get into that because I feel like that's gonna be a lot. But I was gonna ask, Brian. I'm sorry, I'm just so used to calling you OP. It's like hard for me to just say Brian.
right?
But in your eyes, do you think this song would be better if Eminem took his more complex flow and used that instead of his slow flow that he used on it?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say complex, because it is good that you don't have to really sit there and decipher it.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been better, just basically a more up-tempo flow I like better. But that might not have worked for this song also, because Joyner kind of had the same flow also.
Yeah.
He was kind of toned back a little bit too from his normal.
Well, if you go back to like the track the second track that he had with Nicki Minaj, the Majesty joint, that super fast flow he did on that I mean, it was impressive and it was cool, but it just didn't work for the song. It really didn't. It was like you have a song that had a specific tempo, a specific feel, and all of a sudden he comes out with bada 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 bada, and it's just like yeah,
but he does that a lot though. Even on Forever, we can't deny that M had best verse against everybody else on Forever, and everyone just they slow floated, and M, they expected me to slow,
Mm-hmm. Even there you go. But even that one, on Forever, he wasn't over the top technical, but he was very up tempo though.
Yeah, and he like doubled
hit
the
on
pocket, like very much in the beat, as opposed to trying to overpower the beat.
Yeah. Which, like I said, on this song, being how the beat was, where it was very slow and almost non-existent during the rhyming.
Yeah.
Going over the top probably wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
But basically,
that's
how I
was
feel.
Trying to figure out too, because to me, it's not gonna be a song that I play all the time. I'm sorry, it's not.
No, definitely not.
It's a cool song, great concept. Like it's definitely intriguing, like the way they put it together and everything. But it's not something that I'm gonna bump all the time and like really listen to and break apart. It's not Caterpillar for you, Zeus. You know what I mean? It's not like that type of,
It's what it is really. It's just a let's get people talking song. That's all it is. Something that they put out, kind of for a reaction to get people talking. Hey, are they gay? And whatever else,
Yeah.
It's not something that you're going to be listening to in the car. You might listen to it a couple times, but I don't think it has a lot of replay value.
So, if you were to look in the past 5 years, what does a track have to get your attention?
In the past 5 years?
Yeah, let's go back to 2014.
Jeez, I don't think that's far back enough.
And let's cut Eminem out of the equation. Forget Eminem. He's we know he's an anomaly when it comes to this. I know I hate I think everybody here hates mumble rap.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
We're
pretty biased.
Yeah, as a style, as a genre, etc.
To the boom bap style.
Yeah, but there are lyricists out there. So what, like, if you listen to somebody like Token, Logic, Kendrick, Tech Nine, Crooked, any of those, like, what from their tracks makes you say, "Oh, I'm gonna listen to this over and over again. This is getting bumped in the whip all day."
That's a hard question.
Like, I know in general,
because last 5 years, can you even really include Kendrick too much into the conversation? Because he hasn't come out with a lot of material in the last 5 years. 10
true.
years maybe. He might have had I think Kendrick only had like 1 or 2 albums in the last 5 years. Honestly.
But like, so for me, if I think to myself, like, as I'm listening to a track, if I don't know where the rhyme is going, or the rhyme that you came up with, or where you brought the rhythm is somewhere different than where my brain would have brought it, and it was better. Like, if I'm like, oh, anything that makes me scrunch up my face, like, damn, where'd you come up with that? Right?
That's how I look at it too. Like
that, I know.
I have to hear a couple of lines. I have to hear like a couple of lines that's just like, oh, okay. Okay. That's what you do it? Okay.
Yeah, it's gotta be some semblance of a rhyme scheme, that actually makes sense and not just jumbling shit together,
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of new music is.
Yeah. And there's a big difference for me between a freestyle where you're just dropping punchlines and a song where you're actually staying on topic. And so a lot of what comes out now is freestyle type verses where you're trying to be clever, but you're not really.
I just think it's lazy rhyming.
You're not saying.
I'm not gonna lie. It's lazy rhyming.
That's what most of it is.
Like, I haven't written a verse in a long time, but if you tell me to write a freestyle about nothing, I could do that. I could make words rhyme. That's easy. If you tell me, hey, stay on a topic, that's going to be a little more difficult. But that's what I want to see. I want to see you, like, for a concept song like the one we're talking about, that stayed on topic the whole time, and it gave you images that you can see somebody in church, like, clapping along while the pastor's talking about what is a sin, blah, 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 versus, somebody just smack
jumbling
that
words
ass
together,
or some weird bullshit,
or just lazy rhyming, just like, oh my god, like, who else is on here?
Yeah,
who else is on here? Like, all right, maybe he'll do better.
Yeah, I mean, tracks where people try to outdo each other.
That's what I like. I like competitiveness.
That's always gonna jump out at me.
Like, a good example is that, not to cut you off, Z, but a good example of that is the whole Royce Eminem dynamic, in my eyes, because Royce is a perfect example. He's like one of the reasons that, like, you could do lyricism, but for me sometimes I like the flow. I feel like he has such style and, like, charisma behind certain bars and stuff that, like, that stands out to me in certain lines. And of course his punchlines and stuff like that, the way he lands everything, but it's just like that stands out to me. And with him always going back and forth with M, and you could tell that both of them are so competitive in their work, that, like,
it's like in the old days when Jay-Z and Biggie got together.
Yeah. And I was going to say, you could say, I mean, it's hard for people to say, but I feel like, to me, you guys may disagree, but, like, to me, the Bad Meets Evil album was Royce's album. I think he overdid Eminem on most of the tracks. But once M started, I think M realized that, and he was like, damn, all right, you got me on this one. Then he started to up it up more, like, towards the Kamikaze era, and then we get verses like Caterpillar. You know, we get verses like Caterpillar, and we're like, no, M had best verse on that for sure. You know, and they go back and forth, and I like that.
I love the Dragon Ball Z reference that you make with that.
Oh, I always make that reference. I was like, Eminem and Royce are Goku and Vegeta all the time. Like, Royce will drop, like, albums and freestyles, and he'll work hard, you know? And then all of a sudden, M just comes up, and he looks at it, he's like, oh, shoot, you've been training? All right, I want to start training too. And then brings it to a whole other level. You're like, what the fuck? But we'll be looking at him like, damn, bro, now we doing it like this? You know?
I always kind of said that Eminem kind of got his flow from Royce, but then you know, he kind of took it further, you know.
I think,
and then Royce whatever fell off for a while, and then came back strong when they did that album.
Exactly, that's what I think too. I think he helped them come back.
Like if you look at old, and this is why I say M is an anomaly, because you know back in the day people were like, oh, he stole his style from Cage. Or he has a Nas style, or he has a whatever. Yeah. But
I actually like Cage.
He's such a fucking chameleon that he just goes into tracks and he has a very distinct voice, so you know it's M that's spitting in this specific track. But he just does so. He's done so many styles. I would say Royce is in the same vein. Like Tech Nine. Tech Nine. He has a distinct voice, but he kind of raps one way. But the way that he raps will make some of your favorite rappers cry if they got to do a track with him, because he's just so good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think for the stuff that Kendrick has put out, it's similar. Like he has a distinct voice, and a distinct style. I would say. You look at somebody like the old school equivalent of that would be like Nas. Nas does really well in the rapping that he does versus Jay-Z, who can do a whole bunch of different styles. You know, he just has more range. But the stuff that Nas does is he's just so fucking good at it that when he's hitting, you're like, oh, like... I mean, if you listen to what goes around, it's like, God damn, like, you know, this is deep as fuck. It's just two different things.
Yeah.
And as a self-rebuttal, you know, fuck GameStop. that's. I think that's,
just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I think that's something. I had to. I don't know why I had to say that.
Well, you have a hate.
Say what you gotta say.
It just kind of came out, but I think we could close it out there. We're definitely going to revisit a bunch of these topics, but this one I just when I heard that track, I said, you know, we have to put this on the show, and you know, I love the discussion. Hopefully, we stay on the same road that we've been on with lyricism coming back to rap music from last year to this year. Hopefully next year is the same thing. I really can't fucking believe that this year's almost over. It just flew by. But
yeah, we're about to be in 2020.
Yeah, that's some craziness. But I'm Jeff. You can find me on Twitter at Zeus, letter N, Jeff, Zeus and Jeff. Go around the room and hit them with your socials.
I'm Adam. You can find me basically really just on Instagram and my petty everyday nerddom, which is at Tatooine Hermit.
If you don't know how to spell Tatooine, then you don't deserve to talk to Adam. Just letting you know that right the fuck now.
Yo.
Some motherfuckers funny. Be spelling it like tattoo, like a tattoo, and then they're just like, all right, well then you ain't gonna find a motherfucker.
Oh man!
Do a Google search first, find the correct version, and then
find an old Star Wars script.
Word. All right, Imaginate. You could go on my Instagram. It's Imaginate Music is the handle. My YouTube channel, youtube.com/Imaginate, and that's spelled IMAGEN and the number 8. So don't try to spell it like the real way. It's not spelt that way.
Or 8 for short.
Or 8 for short.
Word.
Whatever y'all want to do.
And Brian.
Yeah, I don't really have a social to plug. I just have my personal stuff. So.
Oh, yeah, fuck that.
I don't have yeah.
We're not trying to get into personal.
Yeah, nothing right now.
Or op.com.
But having said that, if you're listening on the podcast, definitely subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, which is really just listening because it's going to be a still frame, then subscribe.
It'll be a very pretty still frame. It's art on there.
Yeah,
right? You better sit there and gaze in wonderment
at the still frame of End of a Species.
Yeah, our pretty logo with colors and the dark and light and the meat.
Yeah.
Make that full screen and then just focus on that while you listen.
Perfect. And hit the little thumbs up. I know that does something. Hit the subscribe. That does another thing.
And then hit the bell.
And that does a third thing.
Yeah.
Having said also, so with all of that
we'll
said,
give you descriptions of what those things are in the next episode.
Yeah, we'll teach you guys how to use YouTube.
Episode 3.
And in a later episode. Maybe episode 3, maybe not. You'll have to tune in. But this has been the End of a Species podcast. We out.
And fuck GameStop.